About 2 weeks ago, a user logged on and left a comment for one of my videos. User's name was WinterXL, and he asks, is there something that explains what the hell a realm is in AOS? That's an awesome question. And basically on this channel, we talk a lot about the building blocks and the basics of Age of Sigmar lore to help new players get invested in the setting and the models and the story arcs and all that kind of stuff. And this is a topic that I didn't really touch on very much. Certainly one that's important though, because the idea of going from like an alternate Earth to this kind of abstract fantasy realmscape thing definitely lost a lot of people when the game launched. But that's a great question. So what exactly are the realms? What do we know about them from the actual official Black Library novels and information that we got from the core book? But then also, what are they like on a practical level, and why did we switch from the old world format to the realms? Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Quite possibly the best place to start when talking about the fantastic nature of the realms is to go ahead and get a sense of what they mean to the people writing the lore. What do they intend when they say that they went to the realm of fire and those kinds of things? So let's crack open our core book. We're going to go to page 78, and I'll read a passage there about the realms themselves. The mortal realms are vast beyond the ability of the human mind to comprehend. Each exists in the ether of the cosmos, a great sphere-shaped concentration of magical energy that in places has crystallized into landscapes of impossible majesty and scope. In these mortal realms, motes of magical energy can be found in every pebble and leaf. At the core of each realm, where that energy is the least volatile, its etheric power is thin indeed, and all but imperceptible, even to one gifted with the witch sight. At each realm's edge, reality is so saturated with magic that even a curse spoken in jest can kill a man, and a careless sweep of the arm can send bolts of energy crackling all around. Okay, so they describe it as a sphere that has sort of landscapes that have been crystallized from magic. We'll get to that in a second, put a pin in that one, and then we're going to hop over to a Warhammer community article that adds even a little bit more. This one's called Your Intro to the Mortal Realms. And I'll leave it in the link down below so you can go read it in a little bit more detail. But it starts off by saying the mortal realms are 8 planes of magically bound reality that hang in the cosmos, each a world unto itself with nearly limitless possibilities. Each realm is bound to a wind of magic that broadly shapes its nature and character. Ghyran, Realm of Life, is a world of verdant jungles and uncontrolled growth, while Ulgu is the Realm of Shadow, a place of dark veils and cloying mist. The landscape in each realm varies from the areas relatively stable towards the center where magic is thin and the reality behaves more conventionally, to the untamed edges, which are wild, fantastical places saturated with raw and uncontrollable magic. And that article goes on to talk about how basically the realms are then connected with the series of gates called realm gates that kind of interweave throughout them and bind them all together. So what can we know about the realms based on these two sources? These are probably the most definitive from the maker's sources, not including Black Library novels. Well, we know that there are a series of realms, 8 of them to be exact. Each one of them corresponds to a wind of magic from the old world. There's Haish, Realm of Light, Azir, Realm of Heavens, Chaman, Realm of Metal, Ghyran, Realm of Life, Gur, the Realm of Beasts, Akshi, the Realm of Fire, Ulgu, the Realm of Shadow, and Shyish, the Realm of Death. And I'll throw a picture up here of what they think the realm looks like. We're just going to pick one. I believe this one is Akshi. And you see it's a sphere of magic and inside solidified on a disc-type world. This is a common theme from other kind of fantasy tropes, if you will, a Discworld. This has been solidified magic that forms landscapes which are completely livable. And I want you to think of it this way. When lava spits out of the earth from the ocean, right, some big cavern in the ocean, it comes into the landscape as this raging and dangerous substance, but as it cools, it begins to form solid landmass, and over time and millennia, it can become livable. It can create environments from this dangerous substance. It becomes something more. In the same way, the raw, uncontrolled nature of magic itself at one point tempers and cools, and on this disc world type thing has formed geography and landscapes that confound the imagination. To get a bird's idea of what this would look like, we only need to thank our friendly flat earthers. And this is a Discworld. This is what I was talking about earlier. There are other sci-fi and fantasy tropes that go with the idea of a Discworld. It's not wholly unique to Age of Sigmar. That is to say, this entire world and everything you've ever known will exist on this kind of round plane. And on that disk, things are very stable towards the center, but in the outer edges, magic fragments and things kind of go out of control. A few examples of this are explorers turning into solid gold while they're exploring the outer edges of Chaman, Realm of Metal, where it mutates their body, it transmutes them into a mineral, or it bursting into flames near the edge of Akshi. And those are, of course, very extreme circumstances. There's very rare occasions where you'd want to go to the realm's edge. Most of the stories that we see coming from Black Library, or kind of the main story arcs, if you will, take place more towards the safer, more stable areas towards the center or middle of each realm. Speaking on the geography of each of them, they're all a self-contained environment, a whole world unto itself. Going back to that picture of Akshi, you can see there's a globe around them. This forms their sky and maybe even their underworld. And that disk inside it, suspended within the firmament, is everything a person from Akshi would ever know. It's the world we see in the stories, the environment that our characters rise and fall in. And each one of them has complete wild landscapes, its own flora and fauna, different environments. They each have beasts and their own biomes. And by biome, I mean they all have oceans and dense forests and mountain ranges and all the things that we associate with different types of places and settings here on Earth. Each one of the realms has those. And if we zoom out a little bit further, we see that all the realms are suspended together within the void, like a little solar system. So it's not that far outside of what we typically know. And as such, they kind of fly together, like I said, like a little solar system itself, bound together, hurling through the void. Now, one realm I didn't mention here was the Realm of Chaos. That's kind of its own thing. I want to do a dedicated video to that. It's not like one of these realms here. These are the mortal realms, the ones that's the name of the actual setting. The mortal realms is what we know as the 8. The Chaos idea is something different, trying to intrude upon them. And here's the thing, that's what makes all the realms the same. That's what they all have in common. They all have every biome, they have unique creatures and environments within them. They're all kind of seasoned with a different kind of magic, but it's what makes them fun is what makes them different, right? Each of the winds of magic has a massive effect on the realms, as hinted at in that article. They shape the geography and also the nature of its physics. Just the general temperament of the people who live there have a huge impact, or I should say are impacted by the nature of the magic of the realms. Now I went into a little bit of detail on a few videos concerning some of the realms. I believe I've done Realm of Metal, Realm of Fire, Gur. And to give you an example of what I mean, Gur is a very like predator and prey type thing. It's a giant food chain, and everything from the mountains themselves to the oceans are all eating each other, and that's how it works. Basically, you enter Gur, you enter into a food chain, and it is up to you to fight to survive. Everything wants to kill you, and you have to fight for survival. And that's the theme and the temperament of that realm. The natural environments are all against you. You have to just be a better predator than you are prey. Whereas in Akshi, things are much more stable, but everything is very hyper aggressive, and this air is very choked with clouds and things like that. It's not all volcanoes and it's not all magma, but it is a lot of those things, but also just the effects of heightened aggression, of heat, of intensity. Whereas in the Realm of Metal, which is certainly one of my favorites, there's abstract geology, there's floating islands, there's mineral-rich grounds. People want to be there because they can get rich quick, and there's just a lot of things that when you think about metal, metallurgy, transmutation, those kinds of magics are plentiful. Rivers of quicksilver and such. Now, on a practical level, why did they do this to the setting? Well, this gives us a world that can never be fully explored. New things can always be added. You can have your battle set anywhere you want. Your imagination is the only limitation. Realm gates connect these vast realms, either going from point A to point B within the same realm, or connecting two different realms. So what this means from basically a narrative building point perspective is you can have your army be from anywhere, but then have them fight anywhere else. And there's narrative reasons. We don't have the confines of why would this army ever fight here kind of thing that sometimes came up in the old world. The change was about possibilities, both in terms of size and scope with the impossible geology and geography and, just the size and scale of things, but also just the ability to go from point A to point B and make relative sense. Now, admittedly, the realms were not well articulated during the game's launch. We knew they existed, but not much more than that. The writers of Black Library have done a great job of giving the realms character, meaning, and insight. Books like Warstorm, which has one of my favorite scenes where it's Stormcast Eternals standing on an icy cliff in Akshi, and it's just a cool scene because they talk about how foreign and alien this weird world feels. Like, it doesn't feel right. They're being choked with ash clouds but freezing on the mountaintop at the same time. And in addition to that, because the character of each realm is getting defined better and better as time goes on, we also get to understand the impact that chaos has. The warping power of chaos twisting the realms into a deformed parody of itself. We get to see that more and more the more we learn about the realms. Once you see how something is supposed to be, it has a lot more impact on when you see it twisted into evil and falling apart and the earth's bleeding because Khorne set up a fortress there. Now, I'll admit, I like seeing things fleshed out a bit more. They've made a grand effort to go from these big, abstract, big sandbox ideas towards the beginning of the game's release to focusing in more on cities and continents and those kinds of things to let us know how the realms actually work. And I think those efforts have not been in vain. If you didn't catch what I was talking about during the earlier part of the video, in the core book, they actually busted out a section for each of the realms, and for many of them, they picked a continent of them and really dove into the history of them. In this way, they kind of give you a sense of, that the realms are full of people and full of history, and they give you a sense of the temperament of each realm without fully explaining, putting borders and limits on it. And I kind of like that. I do still miss I like maps, frankly. I just like having maps and details about how the cities function and what makes them different and unique, but this was definitely a good first step. I'll also add that our understanding of the realms is under constant development, and what I mean by that is every time a Black Library book comes out or a new battle tome or something like that, we get a different picture of how the realms interact with each other, a more updated one, a little more clear in how armies interact in those worlds. A great example is the book that we're doing right now in our book club, which is Black Talon, the First Mark. She's in Gur and constantly commenting on the predator versus prey kind of nature of all the things around her and how the Stormcast kind of fit into that environment, how they stick out like sore thumbs, but interact with that world. In a sense, the environment becomes a character on its own and creates fun settings for great stories. Down below, you'll see the links to the videos on each of the Mortal Realms that I've covered so far, as well as that Warhammer community article. Go ahead and check those out, learn for yourself, learn how the realms are more individually, and you'll get a greater appreciation for them. Winter XL, I hope that answered your question, at least in part to get you started. And if you have a question about AOS lore, leave in the comments down below. I'll use many comments as inspiration for future videos. And if you'd like to support the channel in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron of mine over on Patreon. My patrons are vital to keeping the channel going. We're going to get back into battle reports here a little bit once I finish closing out the 2+ Tough store and all that inventory is out of my way. But thank you guys so much. As that store is closing, I'm leaning on my patrons more and more, and they have been excellent and very supportive and awesome people. So thank you all so much. See you next time, and happy wargaming.